Cassie, Deputy at Deputy Tribe. Today we are going to be reviewing Homeschool in the Woods, and we have been using their Time Travelers U.S. History study about the Civil War. So grab a cup of tea and meet me back here right after this. Welcome back to Deputy Tribe. If you're new here, my name's Cassie and I'm really happy to have you here today. I am a homeschool mom of 8 kiddos. My husband and I, we talk a lot on this channel about child training, home educating, which is different than homeschooling. Let's see, what else do we talk about? We talk about ministry with kids. We talk about politics because my husband runs for political office. We talk a lot about healthy eating because my children have some pretty severe food allergies and all of that jazz. So if you're interested in any of that, please give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share this information with other people. Now, what we also do on this channel is a lot of homeschool curriculum reviews. So today we are going to be talking about Homeschool in the Woods. Now, if you have never heard of this company, I'm going to include their link below. They are a pretty sweet company. I have my handy dandy iPad, so I'm going to show you what their website looks like. Now, this company was created by a family who I believe has 6 children, I think they said. Let me pop over to their About page. We are a family of 6, so they have 4 children, so it's a mom, the dad, and 4 kids. And they basically started creating their own history curriculum. Now, the mom dreaded teaching history. It was very boring to her when she was in school, so she was enthralled, if that's the right word, enthralled, and she became very enthusiastic when she started reading living books with her kids. And then they started putting together timelines. And then all of a sudden, something in her was like, I love history. And so between her and her family and some illustrators and people, they've been putting together these project-based history curriculum, lack of a better term. They're very much hands-on. They're not dry. The other thing I really love about the material that they provide is they go back to the source. A lot of what you read is actual information from that time period. They don't seem to teach, at least none of the stuff that I've used from them over the last several years, they don't seem to teach their opinions on things. They give you real accurate history that you don't typically get in the public school system. So needless to say, my husband and I are probably learning more out of this Civil War study than my children are even learning, because as a family, we have gotten so much out of using this, what did I say it was called? Time Travelers USA. Okay, so let me back up a little bit before I get into that. They offer quite a few different things. They offer, want more reviews on some of these different products that I'm not reviewing today, there's a link in the description below that will take you to my Homeschool Review Crew page where all my crew members reviewed different curriculums from Homeschool in the Woods. So check that link out. You can read them on blogs, you can see them on social media, you can watch other videos, all of that type of stuff. Breathing break. Pretty pregnant. I don't know if you can tell. I can tell. So let's pop over to their Time Travelers. So here is what they offer. You can't even see it because of how not focused my camera is. New World Explorers, Colonial Life, American Revolution, Early 19th Century, Civil War, Industrial Revolution through the Great Depression, and World War II. So we've been doing the Civil War. Boop. Only $28 for this incredible study. Okay, didn't download. You download it right onto your tablet or your computer or whatever. Suggested for grades 3 through 8, and they can give that wide span, and I will walk you through why here right after this. But it's very much tailored for large families. I mean, you don't have to be a large family. I mean, it's conducive to large families. Different levels of projects. You don't even have to do everything that they give you. You can just pick and choose from each lesson what's applicable to you and your family. So you just download it, and then you print the material, and you get the most in-depth, hands-on, amazing study of the Civil War that you could ever get. Seriously. First thing I want to do, get some tea. So the first thing I'm going to do is walk you through what the material looks like when you download it, okay? Second thing I'm going to do is walk you through all of my children's lovely projects that we've done thus far, and our timeline and all of that. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to share our personal experience with this curriculum. Yeah, our personal experience with this curriculum. Come back right after all of that. Okay, guys, so basically I just want to give you an idea of what this program looks like when you download it. Now, you'll download the whole folder as a zip file, and then you'll open it. And here you have PDFs, and you have menus. Now, menus, you don't really use much. It kind of gives you an idea of what the projects are supposed to look like. Let's see here. Lessons, lap book, images. Those are images from the study. Here's kind of what the lap book should look like after it's assembled. So you just kind of have that sort of stuff in there, if that makes sense. But your main thing is going to be the PDFs. So you have the covers, the intro, master lessons, lessons project, lesson text, teacher keys. So what I usually do is I go to the lesson text, and here's your text for all the lessons. This is the information that you read, and I print myself a copy and read it out loud. But what I find out works even better is printing all of us a copy and reading it through together so the kids can highlight stuff and really get a lot out of it. Then I go to lesson projects and I select which lesson we're on. So let me give you lesson 5. No, that's not a good lesson. Let me give you lesson 4. I mean, that's a good lesson. I mean, that's not the one I wanted to show you. So here you can see it lists the projects that you want to do. So penmanship, so you'll complete the copy work on this page, okay? So that key is important. And then even what to do with the information. So this one you'll 3-punch and put it in your notebook, okay? You add to the timeline these specific things that we read about in the text. We're going to add to our slave and free state map. We're going to continue the newspaper. We're going to fill out Southern states secede and war begins. So after reading the information, they get to get creative here and kind of create their own news letter that I will show you after I walk you through this material, what my kids' has looked like. Here we studied the Fort Sumter War. So there's directions on how to cut this out and put it in your lap book. And then pivotal papers. Now this, obviously there is quite a bit of projects for each lesson. Now you as a family, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do. We are enjoying this so much. We are doing every single last thing in these lap books, or in these studies, sorry. So we listened to Lincoln and Davis's first inaugural address. We printed them out and read them together. And then we actually played them through YouTube and listened to them and paused them and discussed them. We got into a whole family discussion comparing and contrasting their views on the Civil War and what they thought was the main issue, as well as Lincoln's heart to keep the Union whole and his passion to make sure that government stayed small and stayed out of the business affairs that it wasn't supposed to be in. So that was very eye-opening for us as a family, and we really enjoyed that project. So here they're going to start beginning a library of leaders, and they created this little box, and they're creating profiles of everybody that they've learned about, which has been really fun. They've enjoyed that. Also a map of the Civil War battles we're coloring in and kind of filling in where the battles happened and what side won each battle. Okay, so then you have your master kind of layout, right? So after I print those, I go to Lesson Masters here, and they're all M11A. So if you noticed on the last sheet, it had codes. So here's all your penmanship pages, okay? Never do a wrong thing to make a friend or to keep one. Really cool quotes, which I really like. And then my chief concern is to try to be a humble, earnest Christian. My chief concern, so there's dotted lines, so that kind of gives you an idea of that. There's also blank paper, which I printed a bunch of. Here you can see that. Here you can see they have the dotted line and then the one for a little bit older students. So this is very much able to be used by all different types of age groups, and you just kind of accommodate it to what age your kids are and how that's working. Here's the masters for the timeline. So literally everything you need is in here. Here's all the characters for the timeline. So we just printed all of this out and we're coloring it in as we go. Maps that you need, every piece of the project. So I will show you later on our Underground Railroad project. So these all have flaps that open. So everything you need is in here. Here's your Camp Kettle newspaper that I mentioned earlier. So as you can see, every single project that you need for the entire Civil War study, you're going to make paper dolls, you do all sorts of things, is all included in here. There are a couple projects that require outside material, and some of them are a bit complicated, so we skipped over a few of those, but those are really fun too. Here you have your cover work for your 3-ring binders. They even include the siding there for your 3-ring binders. Then you have the teacher's keys, which kind of make sure that you're doing things right, which the timeline's pretty self-explanatory, but like some of the maps here, if you noticed, you all have a couple of these printed so that they can kind of have a master to go off of. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, easy information. This is all stuff that you'll want to read. Here's some idea lesson plans. We don't follow these lesson plans at all. We just open up our study and we do as much or as little as we want to do. And usually we make a whole day of it because we are just enjoying this so much. So with that, I will walk you through what their projects actually physically look like. Okay, so here's some of the stuff that we've been working through and printing out. Here I print out the teacher's guides. Here's lesson 6, which we're going to start hopefully tomorrow, sometime this week. We read through this material, and then I print out the lesson 6 projects and their directions, and we basically will go through that. So here's some maps. Every lesson comes with literally everything you need. I have some extra writing sheets, some quotes that we have been copying down. Then the kids have their projects they've been working on, some of the stuff we've been reading. Let's see here if I can get this with one hand. Get out of there. Here we read Jefferson Davis's first inaugural speech and Abraham Lincoln's first inaugural speech, and that was the most eye-opening thing I have done that lesson. That was amazing. Here you have their Camp Kettle projects. This is like a newspaper that they fill out throughout the entire lesson. The entire study, and they kind of add on to it as we go. So you see it'll have all the different topics of the things that we've studied about the Civil War. So they'll have a nice sort of documentation of everything they learned in a newspaper style, which is a lot of fun. Leftover project stuff. They're doing all sorts of projects. They're making profiles of important people and putting them in a little person box with information. But what we do is you're supposed to like glue all their little projects similar to this into like a notebook type thing. But what I really like to do is we have history notebooks. A lot of you have heard a lot about, let me sit down, me and my pregnant self, about our notebooking experiences. So any maps that we've been filling out. So here's a cool, This one we're filling out as we go through the study about all the different battles and which side won each battle. That's why that one's kind of still loose and out. That's a continuous one that we're working on. Let's see. We're getting there. Let's go a little further. Here's some of the projects that we've been doing. So here's a map of the slave and the free states. And then here's the Liberator newspaper. Talked about how news was spread. Let me turn this so you guys can see that. Reasons for the Civil War. There were economic reasons, moral reasons, political reasons, which is very true reading through the actual documents that were written during that time. Here's some handwriting stuff. So as you can see, all their little projects were kind of gluing in their notebooks as we go. Yeah, so everything's included. Everything is printer friendly, as I walked you through earlier, kind of the files that you receive and what those look like. Let me see here if she has any different. So here's our, this must be Havens. No, still have this. Here's our Underground Railroad route. So we studied how it worked, and then there's flaps with little pieces of information. And this is stuff that they remember because they spent so much time doing the projects and really investing in the material. It just sticks with them a lot more versus just reading about it and answering questions. Here's her map of the battles, her map of the free states and the slave states. Here's her Fort Sumter. Sumter, I always say that wrong. Causes for the Civil War. Yeah, so that's really cool. And then the other cool aspect, let me walk over here into our dining room, is our timeline that we're filling out. And this has all the main events from the Civil War period, and it goes quite a bit further because there's still quite a few lessons that we haven't finished. Here's an example of the box that they're working on. I think this might be Havens, so it's not really colored in yet, but they'll have all their different people that they're studying in here. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope that gave you a really good grip on what the nitty-gritty of all of this looks like. I hope it gave you some ideas on if this would work for your family, how to apply it, and things like that. So I'm going to share with you how we personally have used this. Now, we are an extremely busy family. We juggle so many different things that the Lord has called us to. And so we don't have a school day that looks like we sit down at 8 a.m. and we do school till 2 p.m. and that's not how our life looks. Every day is different. My husband's self-employed, so when he has a day off, all of us just kind of do what needs to get done. And then when he has work, all of us kind of do school or whatever. So how we use this was at least once a week, we sat down with a lesson, at least, and typically 2 or 3 times a week, but typically once a week we would sit down, really dive into the material, read the lesson of the lesson that we're on. I would explain how the projects work. They'd start working on them. I mean, we get lost in these things. So we would spend, I don't know, probably 2-3 hours, and we'd just do that for a day. Now, while we're going through this, we're listening to Uncle Tom's Cabin on Audible. I don't know if you're familiar with Audible, but they read you. You know, the whole time I thought the camera was on this side of my phone, and turns out it's on this side. Is that right? The camera? Or is this the camera? No. Have I been looking at you guys? Get distracted. Listening to Uncle Tom's Cabin because we read about it in one of the first lessons. So we downloaded the audiobook and we've been listening to that while we're working on our projects. We also got a couple audiobooks that were Civil War based that we've been listening to. So we're really immersing ourselves in this time period. So the kids will work on projects, and then maybe another day or 2 throughout the week, they'd work on the projects themselves. And I'd kind of look it over and we'd glue it in their notebook. But I would have to say, absolute favorite part of this study, because my husband and I are history junkies and government junkies, especially American history junkies. My husband teaches a U.S. Constitution class in his free time because he just is so in love with America. That the discussions we've had as a family and how we've been able to grasp this information and apply it to our lives has been, I can't even tell you how life-changing it is. Like literally my husband is texting me right now. He's having a radio interview and he's asking me questions about our discussion on Abraham Lincoln's first inaugurational speech. He's like literally texting me right now, asking me questions about this speech that we read a couple days ago. I have to answer his text when I'm done with this video. This curriculum has changed our lives. It is not boring by any means. My kids are begging me every day, can we please do history? Can we please do history? Like I want to know what happens next. And the projects are fun, and I'm not a crafty person by any means, but these are so easy. Really all you need is colored pencils, scissors, glue, and tape, right? And that's it. And they are digging their hands into the material. They're listening, they're learning, they're writing it out, they're coloring pictures, they're mapping things, we have timelines. I mean, they're really getting a good understanding. Just really affected our family in the best way possible. I hope that this review was very in-depth and conclusive, and I really hope that you feel my energy through the screen that you're watching. Probably one of our favorite companies. Please check out the links below. If anything, just give their social media some love, share this video. Maybe someone else you know will benefit from using Homeschool in the Woods. Maybe they're struggling to teach history with the writing component and they're just like not having fun because textbooks are dry and boring, because they are. And do that for me, will you? Check out all the links below. Give this video a thumbs up, share it, all of that jazz. So that is it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and don't forget that Jesus is coming. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.